The past week has been certainly something for the Cookie Run community. If you're unaware, let me give you a quick breakdown as to what's going on in regards to this video. Recently, Cookie Run Kingdom released an update which was meant as an end of an era update, as it marked the end of the Dark Enchantress War, which, for reference, Dark Enchantress Cookie has been the biggest antagonist in Cookie Run Kingdom for over 5 years at this point. The update was called Beyond the Horizon, which was the third part of a 3-part update to mark the end of the Dark Enchantress story. However, after the release of the update, there were a lot of people who complained about certain things about the update. If you do want a quick synopsis of what was wrong with the update, then check out my Did Cookie Run Kingdom Go Too Far? Short. To quickly get out of the way, the biggest issue was that at the very end of the story, White Lily Cookie and Dark Enchantress Cookie had one last battle to settle the score. In the end, White Lily Cookie came out on top, thus ending the reign of Dark Enchantress Cookie's tyranny over the Cookie world. However, this did come at a cost. Due to Dark Enchantress Cookie having originally came from White Lily Cookie, this meant that Dark Enchantress Cookie dying also caused White Lily Cookie to die. White Lily Cookie died all in order to protect the Cookie world, thus making the ultimate sacrifice. However, it truly was a sacrifice, as it made the entire Cookie world safe once again. That is until Shadow Milk Cookie comes back again and ruins everything, because why not, am I right? Now, this is where the video is going to take a very dark turn, as everyone hated this. Social media has been going crazy over the fact that White Lily Cookie had sacrificed herself. How do I know? Well, I put out this tweet because I was genuinely curious as to what people were thinking about hating this update. So I did finish episode 15 of Beast-Yeast, and apparently a lot of people didn't like it. I still won't post anything about it after like a week or something, but I'm still curious. While I am an overall positive person, what exactly was wrong with it? People didn't like it? This tweet would blow up, at least for my standards, as I wasn't expecting a whopping 71 people to respond, but here's some of the replies that has to do with the situation at hand. Even with the belief that White Lily Cookie would be revived, it doesn't undo the damage of her choosing death as atonement, and the concerning message that it sends. She wants to reunite with her friends, yet she was only given a few words with Pure Vanilla alone as she was passing. Shadow Milk's character was assassinated for a Mary Sue, either none or bad character conclusions, making this character happy with their deaths. Like, seriously, that's a messed up thing to teach kids, and that's just what I've heard. Lily's death was really unnecessary. She was implied to be and later on she overcomes that, so her sacrificing herself was such a bad writing choice. And then they portrayed it as her being truly free, which felt like a bigger punch in the gut because that goes against what she learned. Because of the whole message that freedom equals death, and the fact that they killed White Lily, as a lot of people wanted her to live so she could atone with her life instead of her death. From what I've learned, 1, White Lily's sacrifice means her development was for nothing, and that it conveys a bad message for people. Now, as far as I can tell, all of these complaints stem from the same reason. White Lily Cookie dying was bad because she wanted to end her own life because she was and knew that she'd die in the end. Am I the only one who thinks that this doesn't make any sense? Don't get me wrong, I was just as upset that White Lily Cookie perished, but to say that she was or even that the death was uncalled for, it might be just me missing something, but I don't understand how it makes any sense. Let me break it down for you from my point of view in a few segments. 1. White Lily Cookie did not commit. There's a difference between and sacrifice. A is where you give up on hope, let your negative emotions get the better of you, and you throw your life away. A sacrifice is where you're willing to risk everything, which includes your own life, for the safety and protection of others. I feel like people forget that Dark Enchantress Cookie could not exist without White Lily Cookie. However, the same thing can be said for the other way around. White Lily Cookie knew that if she wanted to defeat Dark Enchantress Cookie, she would have to come to terms that she wouldn't survive. However, she wasn't going to go down without a fight, and at the very least, took down Dark Enchantress Cookie with her. 2. White Lily Cookie was not. There's no doubt that White Lily Cookie was depressed in my eyes, but that doesn't immediately mean that she wanted to end her own life in any means necessary. If she was, then she would have most likely done it way earlier, like falling to the hands of Silent Salt Cookie. However, White Lily Cookie was just depressed primarily out of everything that she's witnessed. She saw the truth of cookies being that they were meant to be eaten, leading to her thinking that they would all be eaten in the end. But this also brought Dark Enchantress Cookie to life, which destroyed the mentality of all of the ancient cookies, all because of White Lily Cookie. Even Golden Cheese Cookie has flashbacks of the original Dark Flower War. 3. It was just bad writing. I'll have to admit that it does seem convoluted, but this resulted in the redemption for not only White Lily Cookie, but also Silent Salt Cookie as well. They've atoned for everything that they've done, being White Lily Cookie causing Dark Enchantress Cookie to emerge, and Silent Salt Cookie falling from grace, slaying the other former cookies of virtues by his own hands. Their soul gems would then merge together, paving forth a new cookie who would be the new embodiment of freedom. Also, they managed to get a hit on Shadow Milk Cookie, who was just losing their mind. I know that, unfortunately, it did result in the other Beast Cookies dying, but we don't know if this will stay true or not, considering that Sugar Swan Cookie was able to revive the other cookies as well. While I can admit that the Beyond the Horizon story definitely has flaws, I didn't think it was actually that bad, to be honest. However, this is not the reason why I'm making this video. This tweet caused the entire Cookie Run Kingdom community to implode. I know looking at this tweet using some common sense, you would assume that this tweet was legitimately a joke. I mean, who would use laughing emojis after mentioning their own family member's death? However, despite this, Twitter just blew up over this tweet. Devsisters officially has blood on their hands because of their blatantly pro message, and now real families have to live with that, by the way. Someone actually killed themselves because of that horrible message they gave. This isn't about the character anymore. Devsisters seriously need to address this and take responsibility for their horrible writing. Hi guys, I want to say something regarding what's going on with Cookie Run right now. Please read this, it's very important to me at least. Boycott Devsisters. Do not buy their merch, do not play their games, in fact delete their games from your devices, do not go to fan events, do not buy anything in-game, do not support them, do any more than this if possible. I don't know exactly what, but if you can do something, do it. Beast-Yeast episode 15 has genuinely made people attempt by giving the message through White Lily that is the way to freedom. For a game with a very large fan base of mentally ill and people, especially ones who relate greatly to White Lily, setting a message like that is going to send people over the edge, and it is going to be the reason people die. It's already happened at least once that I know of, and could happen countless more times. This isn't just the episode being bad now. People have died and made attempts on their lives because of the message Devsisters had sent. You cannot simply be okay with this or continue to pretend that there was nothing wrong with the episode. And if you say something like over fictional characters, you are missing the point. People do not kill themselves because of a bad writing or a bad story or a bad ending. They do it because of companies sending the message that shows that is the correct answer to already deeply mentally ill people. If you were a person who related to White Lily, loved her as a character, or didn't even like her but still saw the ending, seeing be shown as correct and the only way to freedom can be extremely damaging, especially to younger and more impressionable people. And please remember that is never the answer and it will not bring freedom. You are stronger than you think, and there are so many people that care for you even if you don't know it. There will always be a better answer than death. Poor people who cannot afford to pay for video games are bullied for watching them on YouTube and end up playing free things like Cookie Run and killing themselves over its problematic portrayal of their blood is on your hands, you Twitter elitists. I think it's not only the fact Devsisters put a pro message in their game, but also the fact that they put a pro message in their game made for kids. If it was a piece of media for adults, you could chalk it up to mature theming, I guess, but when it's presented to kids, some dumbass is going to respond to this with over a fictional character rather than realizing that stories and their messaging has an effect on the people they're telling it to. The reason we make stories, by the way, and saying people can gain freedom by killing themselves has consequences. Cookie Run Kingdom and Devsisters has been receiving constant backlash because White Lily Cookie's self-sacrifice caused someone to take their own life. And this pissed me off. I've already made a short about this, but do you want to know why I'm so damn pissed about this? It's because that immediately over a tweet that looks as stupid as this, fans of the game immediately want to pin the blame on someone, which is Devsisters, and I have no idea why this makes any sense. First of all, I understand that Cookie Run Kingdom is a game that's basically for the ages of everyone 13+. I understand that people don't like the portrayal of White Lily Cookie's sacrifice, but if you took a little bit of time to look into this, you would realize that Cookie Run as a series is not hesitant to tackle the topic of death, with the strongest example being Sherbet Cookie within Cookie Run Kingdom's Lantern in the Snow story. Should we now boycott Devsisters because Cotton Cookie had to watch her dear friend die all for Frost Queen just to say something like, that's a part of nature, or something like that? Secondly, if this was such a big problem, do we also have to hate, like, Doki Doki Literature Club because of what they did with Sayori in the game? Or how about any other game that tackles the concept of because obviously a self-sacrifice is the same as suicide, I guess. If I wrote a book where it involved someone taking their own life, would you shun me into silence or even crucify me? And do you know how messed up it is to go as far as to boycott the company over something like this? Let me ask you something. Someone with mental health issues takes their own life after listening to what a character says. Do you know what that's called? Because I'll give you a hint, it happened around 2 years ago with Character.ai when a person by the name of Sewell Seltzer III, a 14-year-old, took their own life because they roleplayed with a Character.ai bot. However, from what was researched, it was because of his mental health that happened to be deteriorating for the last 10 months of his life before he ended it all. So, is it the fictional character's fault? Or is it the person with mental illness's fault? The answer should be really obvious. I'm not trying to diss on anyone who has any sort of mental illness, but do any of you even remember what mental illness means? It means you're mentally ill. You will take things to heart and not take another moment to consider them. How could someone else's mental illness have the blame pinned to a game that they enjoyed? If you have mental illness, then you need to seek help from a real professional, not text on the screen from a character that's not even real. Are you gonna take up time travel because of Timekeeper Cookie? How about destroying everything to get what you want like Dark Enchantress Cookie? Why not attempt to assassinate a leader like Affogato Cookie? Oh, but apparently none of those count because it's ridiculous. Like this wasn't ridiculous enough. It wasn't until a day or two passed that people started understanding why this logic of reasoning made no sense. Make a game about Cookie characters. Story leads to confrontation with villainous character. Cookie character sacrifices herself to save the day and protect her friends. Fan sees self-sacrifice and commits. Fans blame you. No, the devs do not need to take responsibility for their horrible writing. What needs to happen is that you people who take a video game about cookies seriously need to actually step away. My heart goes out to the miner, but y'all need to actually step away from the game. Developers and authors should not be responsible for their audience's mental health. The parents and their health advisors should. People are talking about how it's cruel to joke about a kid offing themselves over Cookie Run Kingdom's glorifying and saying that they are heartbroken for the person. Meanwhile, the Ground Zero tweet is F15 so my cousin actually killed herself. Our brains are shrinking. You really want to live in a world where artists have to create works of fiction knowing they'll be held accountable for the way any given mentally unstable person reacts to it? How is Devsisters and Cookie Run Kingdom to blame for the death of someone because of a story that they decide to tell in their own way? White Lily Cookie would not have wanted any of this. You know what White Lily Cookie would want you to do? She would want you to fight for what you believe in, making sure that you do whatever you can in hopes that you can create a better future for not only yourself, but for everyone else. Is never the answer for this. Also, I do want to go off script for a moment, saying that someone did DM me telling me about how there may have been some people who actually made fun of the person who allegedly killed themselves, and let me just mention this for a fact. Never do that. That's disrespectful, that's degrading, and it's genuinely an awful thing for any person to do. To get real for a moment, while I'm not going to go into many details about this, I once knew someone who was actually a part of my family who took their own life, and it didn't solve anything. If anything, it broke apart our family more, and the worst of it was when I heard the cries of the people who I cared about because of it. But please, if you have any thoughts of depression, any sort of mental issues, or just feel down in general, then don't hesitate to talk to someone about it. Talk to any sort of friends that you have, family who sticks close by you, even people within other communities who can relate to your issues, and even if they can't, would still be open to hear you out. It does not matter who you are, male, female, black, white, religious, it doesn't matter. We're all part of the human race, and we all need to take care of each other, because we're all that we have. No matter how far people may seem away from you, you may be closer to more people than you realize. We shouldn't cause this community to crumble over something akin to this. We all need to mourn and move on. However, we all need a very big lesson to think before we speak. If someone did end up taking their own life because of the story, then it's going to be tragic. However, it'll still be their call at the end of the day. However, like I said, do not be afraid to reach out to someone if you feel like you need it. You only have one chance at living your best life, and it's not going to last forever. So please, don't just strip yourself away from the beauties that this world has to offer. You can imagine your own stories, explore communities that you may love, explore landscapes if you're feeling adventurous, or even find a soulmate that you'd do anything for, and that you'd want to make sure that you fight for a brighter future for the people that you love. But always remember, and I'm hoping that this sticks with everyone who watches this video, life is a gift, and it needs to be cherished.